It's time I oiled the throttle cables. I've been putting off this job because it's a bit of a bugger. It's not technically difficult, but there's a lot of fiddle farting around to be done. I need to get both these cables out so I can oil them. But there's quite a lot of deconstruction. The barkbuster handguard, the friction throttle lock, and then I've got to remove the handlebars as well, because you can't take the throttle off the handlebars without moving the handlebars to the left. There's just not enough cable free play to do that. So here goes. Sit back, relax, and watch someone else work for a change. The electrical cluster has to be removed so you can get at the screws for the throttle. With that removed, you can see that there are two screws that hold the twist grip. Note the locator hole. There's one on the other side as well. With that all done, we can remove the handlebars. This is my custom-built sat-nav holder that's mounted on the back two bolts of the handlebar. A couple of bits of tape and a pen line will allow me to put the bars back in the same place that they originally came from. Now I can lift the bars and move them across to the left. That will give me enough cable to be able to slip the twist grip off the handlebar. But first I realise I've got to cut the cable ties that are holding the cable for my heated grips. Finally I can take it off the handlebars. Now I need to loosen off the cable free play to give me just enough free play to be able to get the grip off the cable holder. I apologise that I don't know the name for all these bits. Just follow what I'm doing. The critical bit is that you need to grab hold of the two cables and just sort of twist it sideways to be able to get it off the nylon slide, and then you can get the cables out. Like I said at the start, not technically difficult, but a bit of a pain. But it's no different for any other bike that's got a cable operated throttle. There is something to be said for fly-by-wire. This sort of job is becoming a thing of the past. Anyhow, now I can get the cables out, so I'm almost at the point where I can lubricate them. So I just do each cable in turn. You poke the cable into the little cable luber and tighten it up. I'm using some silicone spray for this job. Theoretically, the cable oiler directs all of the oil down the cable, but as you can see, it tends to squirt out as well, so you've got to hold a hand over it while you're doing it. Now for a bit of in and out action, just to get that lubrication right down the cable. I've done that for both cables, and now I can give the twist grip a bit of a wipe over to clean out any gunk or junk that's accumulated over the last 50,000 K, and then I can start putting it all back together again. And the bad news is it's no easier to put back together than it was to take apart. And just like pulling it apart, now I'm doing the opposite, sliding the cables in and sort of levering the cover back over it. It looks nasty, but it's not that bad. Oh goody, everything's working. Always a good sign. Just a little bit of lube in the moving parts, and now I can slide it back over the handlebar. Handlebars go back on, and the bolts get tightened down. I'm making sure that I'm putting the parts back into their little location hole so that the throttle doesn't twist on the handlebars and everything goes back correctly. Wow, the job's almost done. The last job is just to adjust the free play back up again. I hate a throttle with too much free play, so I fiddle around with it till I get it just right. I may have to adjust this again when I go for my first test ride. Okay, I think it's pretty well right, so now I can just tighten everything up. The last thing to do is to replace the cable ties that I took off for the heated grips. And the job is finally done. Thank goodness this job doesn't have to be done very often. It's always a relief to get everything back together again, and it all works. What a surprising result.